Hello! For new woodworkers or for those who like to work with their own hands, one of the most confusing things to learn is not what tools to use or how to use them, but how to decide what kind of wood to use in different projects. There are a lot of choices in store to confuse anyone. I will try to briefly explain how different wood materials differ from each other and what material to choose when starting a chosen project. When we think about wood materials, we all understand that they can be broadly divided in two categories: wood, round wood or split into boards, and wood materials such as plywood, MDF, OSB and others. Now we are in Wood Design Department in the Competence Center of Art Education, SAULES School in Daugavpils, Latvia. Therefore, we will talk about those three species that are characteristic of our region for the eastern part of Europe. When we are talking about solid wood, the wood we are buying in boards, basically there are two kinds of wood to choose from: hardwoods and softwoods. Technically, a hardwood is any wood that comes from a deciduous tree, one that has leaves like oak, ash, maple, birch, beech. Those are the most common ones. They are usually physically harder than softwoods. An exception would be linden tree, which is very soft and good for carvings. But since the linden tree has leaves, it's considered a hardwood. Softwood is lumber that comes from a conifer tree, typically one with needles and cones, like a pine, fir, thuya or cypress tree. As you can see, in most cases, but not always, hardwoods are harder than softwoods. For our interest, let's look at the way wood hardness is calculated. This test is called Janka test, and it tells us how hard a piece of wood is. Technically, it measures the force required to press an 11.28 mm steel ball halfway into a sample of wood. The diameter was chosen to produce a circle with an area of 100 square millimeters. A common use of Janka hardness rating is to determine whether a species is suitable for use as a flooring material. But we can also calculate the choice of suitable wood for the material of tabletop or axe handle. The hardness of wood is an important parameter, but how to understand what wood to use in different projects? Personally, when I talk about softwood, I am talking about pine or fir, which are the most common wood you can find and usually the most affordable. Whenever you go to a lumber yard, chances are that scent that you smell is pine or spruce. They contain resin. It is the smell that we feel when cutting them. Those woods are commonly used in home construction and framing because they are strong, lightweight and inexpensive. Usually they are prepared in large selections of fixed sizes and in various widths and lengths for construction purposes. After completing our project, we can cover it with paint, but if we prefer the natural look of the wood, we can leave it raw or varnished. As you may have noticed, of all the softwood species, I'm mostly talking about pine and spruce, as they are the species most commonly found in stores. Such as thuya or cypress are usually not available in the stores, as they are not grown for industrial use and their diameters, heights do not compete with pines and firs. Pine is easy to work with, it cuts and sands easily, and it harms your blades less than harder woods. There are some drawbacks to pine or fir. It is soft and it will scratch and dent much easier than hardwoods. Such surfaces will remain damaged not only from knives, rings and high heels, but also from our nails. Another factor that is not always positive is that there are striking wood pattern. We don't always want the wooden surface to be eye-catching and attract attention. It can be quite challenging to find boards that are straight, not curved or warped. But there is a tip on how you can check to see if a board is straight. Just take a look down its length with one eye and rotate it slowly. Take time to go through the pile and find the best boards for your purposes. One more drawback is expansion and contraction. During humid months, boards will draw in the moisture, causing them to expand along their width. But in drier months, they'll contract as they lose that moisture. It affects all three types, but you can feel it more in softwoods. You don't have to worry about it when making a small and freestanding objects, but you should remember this phenomenon when making doors, window frames, or laying a wooden floor. Otherwise, you will get cracks and bumps and time losses. Now a little about hardwoods. There are hundreds of species and types of woods around the world, but let's talk about those that are characteristic of our region and freely available in warehouses. As I've mentioned before, those are deciduous types of trees: oak, ash, maple, birch, alder. Mostly people buy hardwoods because of their grain pattern, color and durability. If you want to build something that will last for a long time, you should use hardwood. Finished hardwood is rarely stained and almost never painted. It would be a waste of money. Usually they are protected with a clear top coat such as varnish or lacquer or oil. And of course, while working with hardwoods, we should have sharp blades, otherwise we will see burn marks on it. The main problem with hardwood is its price. They can be extremely expensive, especially the more exotic species. The most common hardwoods and relatively affordable species here in Latvia are oak, ash and birch, as well as alder, but it is much softer. Ash and oak are very similar in hardness. The tonality of oak is darker, but it's not always the case, because in oak we have sometimes light particles. Ash is even, it becomes darker towards the center. From the top we can't see so big dots as in oak. Oak is more porous and has very characteristic lines that run perpendicular to the wood grain. By these lines it can be easily distinguished from ash, because the ash closer to the center of trunk is also dark. These trees are very widely used in the production of furniture, especially facade parts, due to its cost. It is also good material for doors and windows because it is less suffering from the weather and damages more slowly. If we are going to make an object outside, let's say the top of a park bench, oak or ash will last much longer, taking into account the weather conditions, summer, winter, than pine or spruce. Latvian maple is a hard tree. It has pleasant light tone. The wood is relatively dense, but it is not hard to work with if you have sharp tools. It looks almost exactly like soft maple. It has the same pale color and flame texture. Sometimes you do have those greenish inlays. Also, maple can be easily given any tone and shade. You can find maple kitchens, guitar bodies, turned bowls and cutting boards. Maple is used a lot in flooring and is usually what you'll see on a basketball court or bowling alley. Birch is very similar to maple. It's light, sometimes with the same ripples. If there are greenish inclusions in maple, then there are not in birch, or there are brownish closer to the core. The wood is relatively hard and brittle, so we can cut it, but it splits a lot. Another property very characteristic to birch is expansion in moisture. It is so pronounced that stones are broken with it in quarries even today. This happens along the necessary split line. Dry birch spikes are burned into the holes and covered with water. Expanding power is ruthless. Alder or black alder grows in Latvia, but it is not very popular tree and you can rarely find it in stores and warehouses. However, it can be found, for example, as already prepared boards for saunas. Black alder has a reddish tone, it is relatively soft and easy to work with. White alder structure is a little similar to birches. Alder is not only a soft and inexpensive wood, it cuts and stands extremely easy. So, this was our little video lecture about wooden types when we mean solid wood by it. In next video lecture, we will talk about different wooden products that are commonly used. So, see you later.